important that we should now use those mathematical models to predict this. So how do we predict customer behavior? It's a human psychology. It's a human behavior. All of us are customer at certain point, and we behave differently in different scenarios. So this is what the phenomenon on statistic, we'll call it classification. And we'll go in more details about classification and how this pattern will help us to determine customer behavior, right? And several examples will be given. Then we talk about predict or estimate a value, regression. How can we estimate a value? So now most of the time our shareholders or our, the sales head, they ask us the number. Tell me what is the number you're going to close in this quarter. Looking for estimating value. Based on what? Just based not on the gut that, okay, I feel like I should be closing $1 million. It doesn't work, right? You should not feel like, you should tell me why you are saying you'll close $1 million. Okay. Do you have pipeline of $5 million? Do you have all qualified custom prospects which has indicated, given you all this qualification, right? So these are the indication and qualifier will help you, and this regression techniques will help us to determine or estimate a value, right? Then we talk about segment of population, clustering. Now, in case of doing some kind of sampling or marketing campaign or launching a product or services, you need to target a subpopulation, test the population according to the age, according to the gender, income group or geolocation, and you then model it, then you cluster it, right? This is what we talk about clustering. So that you should not be sprinkling the bullet across the population. It doesn't work. It may work, but it's very cost intensive. So now scientific method is go very, very segmented and do the modeling based on that. And remember, there are several instances given that sometimes Pepsi ran the campaign. They thought that it's going to be globally hit. It worked in US, but in some region, it completely backfired because they had not tested the slogan or their copy, which was completely anti that particular culture of that country. And they did not realize when it went in air, went in media and all that, right? So that is what we are talking about. Each population cluster will behave accordingly, and this will, you have to do modeling based on that. Then we talk about identify factors more associated with a business problem. Attribute importance. Remember we were discussing in the case study, what is so significant business problem? Sales is going down, right? Now that is the attribute importance, sales is going down. The another important attribute is customer returns is going up. Now you have to find out what is the associated attribute importance related with this could be. Sales is down, there must be some root cause for sales going down. There must be some root cause for returns going high, right? So you are attaching significance to this importance. Then find profiles of targeted people or items, like decision trees. So we go in the hierarchy and then you start attaching profiles for that. And then we talk about market baskets or associations. Anybody can think of any good examples of market basket analysis, which I keep talking about more often. Anybody can tell me about that? So that I know it is late evening for you also. I don't want you to, so Bhavan, anybody can help me with that? Now, you go in shopping most of the time, either you go to grocery or you go to anywhere else, right? What do you see sometimes? You are asked to purchase, let's say, a tray of eggs. And suddenly you see that, the bread is kept together, and you are given a promotion that if you buy eggs with bread, this is a certain discount. So you 5 rupees saving on that. So your temptation to buy, why not? I would like to have bread, even though there are some bread left in home, but why don't I pick up? So it makes sense to associate what is the likelihood customer will buy, right? So now with that associations, you are promoting your product, which may be expiring in a day. Maybe bread is expiring in a day, or eggs might be expiring in a day, but you wanted to promote with a very, very good package offering, or may not be expiring. Another example, if I go to buy my dress, I'm going to buy my suit. What is likely that I will purchase with suit? If some kind of modeling is done where the shirt nicely with tie and with handkerchief are put together the suit, and if I see the color pattern, the matching, everything is looking so nice with everything together, don't you think that I should be able to buy tie along with it, or hanky along with it, or even all which goes accessory with it, I should be able to buy it if it is packaged and given at a more discounted price. This is a very classic example of market baskets or association rules implemented. Now, I'm not sure how many organizations are doing it, but in my recent experience, they were not doing it. That's what I shared to you, that Lisa came to my meeting and Lisa said that I'm going to lose job. And we started doing this only when we modeled that her sales started slowly going up. And also customer returns started going down, because we found out based on hidden pattern coming out of the social sentiments, the hidden pattern coming from other data sources which we analyzed. So understanding the hidden behavior of customers, we found out what can go well. This is what association we used. Make sense? Then we talk about some, yeah, any question, comments? Okay, so I go on. So unless you stop me, I will assume that you are understanding and you can relate with what I'm saying. Now there are different approaches, right? So once you understand that, then our methodology programming will become very easy, and all this will be so easy for business purpose as well. So classification arranges the data into predefined group of classes, e.g. good mails versus spam. Example, regression. If I'm doing regression, I'm trying to determine exact value, forecasting future price of a stock. There are so many software available for day traders, right? That helps you to, they cannot accurate 100%, but they are giving you tools and technology built on the algorithm of regression, that if this is the pattern going, this is where the stock value would be tomorrow. So you can bet on it, right? If I'm in a horse trading, right? If you're in the racing, horse racing, you know that by pattern, if I've done this, this is what it is going to win, right? So same thing I can bring back to my business and say, this is what your sales organization is, this is what your product services are, this is what your customer pipeline is looking like, this is what you have been closing in last 1 week, and all with pattern emerging, you'd be closing this much. I can tell you by tomorrow, end of the month, your numbers will be looking like this. Is it acceptable? Not acceptable. That is business decision one has to make. But regression is giving you a very near accurate projection. Then we talk about clustering, similar to classification, but the groups are not so predetermined or predefined. So the algorithm will try to group similar items together, healthy versus disease genes. In gene sequencing, what is the thing which you're trying to do? You're trying to evolve the patterns, and you basically tease it apart, the gene pairs, and then you identify the traits or characters of that. And in one of the biotech firm, I was taken there to show me that how they do analysis of so many the gene sequencing patterns evolving and how they analyze based on the clustering. R is heavily used in biotech field for doing all this analysis based on these approaches. And then I talked about already association rule learning, searching for relationship between variables. Now you know the variables. You have bread, you have eggs, you have juice, you have milk. All these are variables can be associated with. Or I talked about suit. Suit can be associated with shirt, then tie, with hanky, with all those kind of things, or shoes, and go back in fashion apparels also with boot, all with that, right? So you can start modeling based on that, organizing your catalog based on that, organizing your web store and physical location accordingly based on that, right? So data classification is a two-step process consisting of a learning step, which is what we call classification, is constructed. So first you learn, and then you apply classification where model is used to predict class levels for given data, right? This is typical example of machine learning. First you try to learn, right? So the where the classification model is, so you construct the classification model, and then you put that model into practice to run that, right? And then automatically the data is now driving that. Give me one example of this. I can give you many examples which I'm seeing now every day around myself. Anybody can think of? With this conversation, you will also start thinking all these terms and phenomenon, and then you will register it. So Sanjay, yeah, go ahead.
So data classification, when we're saying, is it something like we're saying that let's say clothing, then there is apparels, and then there is something different types of clothing coming in? That's what we are saying as steps.
Here I'm defining two-step process. Now, what is learning a step? So a classification model is constructed based on learning, right? And the same model is deployed basically for working that, right? So example I was thinking in my mind, or I see that every day, is Google driverless cars. Now you know that Google has already announced they are giving car, which is driverless cars, to 500 employees in here, Mountain View, where I live. We're very close to Mountain View, and I see cars are lined up there. What it means, they have been practicing this for last so many years. So what they were doing in the first process, they were creating the model how the car is driven. So a driver is driving the car, and on the driver's seat, the person is recording all the software algorithms, right? So the car is applying the brake, stopping on the red signal, taking the left turn, going by street, and programming is getting constructed, right? So that is step one.
Okay.
Second step is now I'm putting the same algorithm, which is constructed, into the car, and let car run based on the algorithm which has been optimized and modeled. So now the moment I switch on the car, the programming comes into action. And now the programming is telling car to reverse, take this. Now you have said that, okay, I wanted to go to my Oracle headquarters in Redwood Shores. Okay, now programming has already acted upon that from here, based on the GPS, it will go from this location to that location. And the moment any red traffic signal is, you have to slow down. Any vehicle, let's say 30 meters or 50 meters, you have to slow down, right? I'm giving you some example like that. So now programming is acting and car is running on its own, driverless car.
Okay, so most of the, what you're saying is electronic devices, like for example, washing machine. So first we understood that first they understood the how to how the clothes gets washed.
Yeah.
And that has been programmed into the washing machine, and that's where the learning step has happened, and then that has been programmed. And then when we are actually starting the washing machine, that is where the classification step comes up.
This is perfect example. You related straight away because on how machine will know, right? If the human observation has taken place first, what is the time I should give for first, how wet drying or wet washing, then some more semi-drying, then it is drying, and then it completely, right? So all this, how has this happened? Because machine first has been understood, or the learning step has given that learning, then you programmed it. And then after, based on programming, you are getting it done. And every time out of 100, you are getting it done, 100 out of 100 correct, right? And that becomes automated process. So this is what classification which we are doing in our business processes as well. And you can go on thinking about it, and you will be given some assignment and project based on that. So now regression analysis is a statistical methodology that is most often used for numeric prediction. I'll indicate it to you, right? Like sales value projection, stock value projection, all that, right? It's a statistical process estimating the relationship among variables. Many techniques for modeling and analyzing several variables focus on the relationship, right? And that is basically one or more independent variables. So now I'm talking about variables, and we'll be working with a statistical term going forward, right? And I'll define all of them as we go along. Then we are talking about widely used for prediction and forecasting. So regression, correlation, variance, covariance, then classification, all these terms, you will start resonating, right? You will think, oh my God, this is making a lot of sense. Because if I know this, classification I related, these guys must have done a lot of mathematical modeling before launching the Google car on the street, right? It's not that easy. They must have done several iterations of programming. They must have driven that car. And I'll tell you, since last 5 years, I have been watching. Because when I drive to my work, I see Google cars with the rotors on the top and two persons, and they keep driving. And one day I could not stop myself. They were stopped in a site. I stopped myself and I went in there. What you guys are doing? And I started interacting. I said, I'm from Oracle and I wanted to know what you guys are doing. Then he explained to me. And then I said, oh my God, this is such a fascinating thing, right? Now it is coming in more and more and more in any business organization. Okay, so cluster and clustering. Cluster analysis or clustering is the task of grouping a set of objects in such a way that objects in the same group are more similar. Right? So now I'm giving an example of, let's say if you are talking about healthcare. In the healthcare, you can group the people suffering from diabetics, group the people suffering from, let's say, anemia, or suffering from cancer, or suffering from XYZ, right? It's very easy. Now you will be able to cluster them as per variables, right? Age group, gender specific, geo-specific, cultural specific, right? So now the whole effort is being made. Can I do something based on that so that the sampling estimation I can do according to the cluster of that? Make sense? Because here in the US, we are going very scientific. The diabetic treatment cannot be used across the board with the same thing, same stick. If Southeast Asian people are coming, their dietary habits are different than Americans. Americans, they don't use so much of carb. They use a lot of proteins. While Asians, like Indians, they eat a lot of carbs, right? They eat a lot of rice, a lot of potatoes, a lot of all that, full of starch. That is the thing which has to be grouped. Mexicans, they are heavily built and they are not able to control their weight. so body mass index. So now the whole campaign is made based on this clustered group of people, and this is what we are talking about. How do we do with certain variables with your initiative which you are driving? I gave only example of diabetics with a lot of variables. Now your service with a lot of variables. You have to cluster it, right? And then accordingly you have to determine what will work, where, and how. And then you can predict that aspect of it. It is a main task of exploratory data mining and common technique for statistical data analysis. Used in many fields: machine learning, pattern recognition, image analysis, information retrieval, and bioinformatics. Image analysis. This is the one thing has intrigued me here recently. Now, when every patient data is getting centralized, now they are making a very conscious attempt to eliminate breast cancer among women. Now, what is the pattern emerging? Because they have been analyzing based on that imaging, and they found out that women age 40 plus and specific ethnic culture or region, they need to be scanned on a regular basis, every 3 months, every 6 months, because their vulnerability is there, and they are making a campaign through the media, through targeted, they're going very targeted because they do have access to information. And now they are doing, I have seen that sometimes the mother comes and they say, oh, we are having a barbecue at this hospital. Can you come for a barbecue in the morning between this time to this time? And during this time, you will also be scanned for these purposes. Now, this is very proactive based on the cluster, based on the group which people are doing, and analysis which they have found out, right? So one reference that what you will do with this based on analysis. Now you can think of healthcare is doing it, what retail companies should do it, what insurance companies should do it. Now you know what they can do it, right? Because I have given you some indication how you'll analyze and how you can implement it. Okay, so now this is what I have been defining about clustering is data segmentation, which gives you also according to their similarity. And this can also give you outlier detection, right? Now, who can give me one example of outlier detection? Anybody? I wanted to keep you awake as well, right? Because it is already approaching 10, so I wanted to keep you awake. Tell me, what is outlier detection clustering can be used for?
So you have clustered like some of the elements from the population.
Yes.
And then you have analyzed their kind of characteristics, and then you will find somebody whose attributes are completely outside of, or completely different, and that may be the outlier. That may be outlier.
Exactly. Now, relate with it. I will give you a more concrete example. Let's say I live in here in California or in San Francisco, right? What is the average income group of San Francisco? If I'm looking at average population, let's say certain number, and the population has, white collared or the investors or doctors, engineers, and high-end earning people and all that. So on an average, people make $60,000 per annum. Example, right? If I'm doing the mean or average earning here, 60,000, but there is one person also here called Larry Ellison, right? Larry Ellison earning, you know that he is Oracle chairman, and his earning is a multi-million per month, right? So per annum package of his salary, if I put it into the average of San Francisco, what will happen? It will skew the whole average, right?
Yeah.
The same population, same group. So he is the outlier in the population of average earning. So if I remove Larry Ellison, then my average drops down further, right? Automatically. This is what the outlier detection I'm talking about. Who is skewing my cluster? Or it is giving me some different indication. So there are several people like Larry Ellison who would be outlier in the population or in the cluster of population where I'm doing my average income group analysis. And this will not reflect your right number. So you need to detect outlier into your numbers. And then I'm talking about this association rule, right? So this, you all understood that. Example I gave you in the last discussion, and people who have just joined, they can relate with, right? So you remember I gave example of Costco. Costco is like Reliance Food Mart, food chain, which is there, right? Visualize that on the shop floor, those people are not so literate, they are not so educated, and they are not so smart to figure out how many products would expire in a day. And especially when you have large perishable item, this is so important. So how are you going to indicate, alert them that these products are going to expire in next 24 hours? So you are a data scientist, you're trying to analyze and get from all the SKUs of the product or the batch and develop the application which should give that expiry. And when it's expiring, you're also doing market basket analysis, right? So that now, what is the option you have? I have got 50 products expiring which should be thrown in the bin in next 24 hours. So as a business owner, I'm worrying that, oh my God, in next 24 hours, this is what I have a loss today because this will be thrown, discarded from my showroom, right? So now you have a choice. Either you get whatever reduced, diminished value of the product and get the maximum possible. This is what you'll do. Even if you cannot do, then you can distribute free, give it away to the social neighboring people. So that at least before it expires and gets thrown in the dustbin, at least whatever social charity you can do that, right? So now two things I mentioned about. One is diminished value. So what you will be doing as a data scientist, you will find out how many products are expiring, build that association rule that before it expires, immediately you take that product out from the shelf, package it together with something, create a special promotion, brand it, and keep it near point of sale. So that people, when they're taking the product out, they should do that. Who will inform the shop floor guy? Your system alert should inform them. This is what I'm talking about, the flow. When you do the analysis, build the algorithm, put it in the system flow, give them alert on their PDAs or on their smart device so that shop floor manager is getting all alerts and they are telling what to do. They are told what to do. Don't leave it to them that they know that. No, you have to tell them this is what you have to do. Take this product out, package with this, brand with this, and now display. Right? This is what we literally hand-holded in our retail example of Lisa case. This can be used for cross-selling, upselling, in addition to influencing sales promotion, loyalty programs, store design, discount plans. Very important characteristics. And data is all available for you, right? Because this is what you are playing with data, analyzing on that. Decision tree. This is very classic example again for decision support. It uses tree-like graph and it is commonly used in operation research, specifically in decision analysis to help what is most likely to reach a goal. It's a true-false statement, right? So you are basically going by, if this is happening, go further. If not, go back to your loop again. Find out more. How many times you have seen this? And you are not leaving this to your gut again. You are finding true and false statement and you are putting the variable here. This is, if you meet this, then it is true. If it is not, it is false, right? And this decision tree helps into your decision making very, very well. Then we talked about anomaly detection, right? This is what anomaly detection, so I just described a little bit briefly, but there are several other anomalies and observation which do not conform to the expected pattern or other interest in the data sets. Bank fraud, insurance claim fraud, or some kind of medical problems, right? These are things which is happening these days, which you need to always be alert and find out. Now, if I give you an example, the car accident has occurred on the highway, 4 cars are involved, right? And in the 4 cars involved, what should be the first question insurance agents should ask when a claim is, the person is calling for the claims that, hey, I have met an accident, I am insured with you, now I have, been this, can you register my claim? So what should be the interrogation should occur between the insurance person and the person who is filing the claim? And how do you know that the claim is genuine or not so genuine? Anybody? Just quick 1 minute discussion on this so that you all are coming with the background, right? So you can tell me this.
By checking who are they internally connected on Facebook or anything else, any other places, and
Great example. Who, Bhavani?
yeah,
Very good example. Yeah. So this is the first thing the person should, let's say 4 names. So he will ask for the number plate of all the 4 persons, right? And he will find out from the immediate searches that, oh, this person who is calling, all the 4 persons are interconnected, correct? Interconnected either on the Facebook or on the LinkedIn or on some mechanism. If I pull the name, automatically these days search mechanism tells you about the relationship or interconnection of that, right? And if that happens, that means it is not likely that it can happen in a normal scenario. That in a road accident, all the 4 persons know each other. Very unlikely. That is a anomaly, which is a trigger for further probing, right? Bank fraud these days. Credit card example, right? If credit card is being used frequently, let's say if I'm traveling in London, I'm based here. So first of all, the moment transaction appears in London, it is a threat or some indicator of anomaly. Mr. Verma is in US. How come this transaction is happening in London, right? So now one immediately first card is blocked. It is not going to process that unless it is verified. So the call comes, Mr. Verma, are you in London? Should we? Then yeah, I'm in London, please. Or you have to call the bank and say that I'm traveling during this to this time, then only. Otherwise, anomaly is detected. And many times I'm finding now bank is filtering that and making sure that this anomaly is detected. Then we are talking about different steps of data mining, and you all know that pattern, machine learning example I gave you, then algorithm, statistics. These are the discussion which we'll have in next few days to come. Statistics, algorithms, writing the programs using our technology. Now with this class, you understood that what are we doing for our next particular 3 weeks, and all dedicated learning specific to our statistics and our data modeling, right? So we are collecting data. How are you collecting data? What kind of data sets you'll be collecting, right? So you have to examine. Most of the time I keep telling you that, okay, introspect for sample data. Because if you can relate with sample data, any data will be the same, right? If I give you, let's say, sales data by make of the car, model of the car, mile per gallon, price of that, and let's say a sample data size in CSV, right? Comma separated value. Now, if I'm doing, how many variables are there? Name, make, mile per gallon, price, all the variables I have given, right? On that, I can do a lot of iteration of doing that, right? And then I can bring that for exploration, preview, and selection, and I will do complete methodology of what I'm doing in data mining approach. Am I doing something variance? Am I doing something different? What exactly approach you'll be doing? And this is what you'll determine. Then you'll fine-tune model performance and accuracy estimation. So this is what I was talking about. Main objective is prediction, right? And I'm right now in my second chapter of my book, Internet of Things Driven Business, Predictable Business. Do you know how interesting this book is getting? Because more and more research I do, more and more I'm seeing the data, more and more I can see that I am very much there. And I can tell business owners, you should do this, right? So now I'm creating the business predictable model by which each and every organization should be thinking about it to use some of those artifacts, processes, technologies, the framework, so that they become more predictable. Their customer can become more predictable, right? And this is what the scenario I'm working on. And guess what? What is the framework of the book? Framework of the book, first of all, dealing with uncertainty, cost of uncertainty. Now, this is all business owners are facing today. How much uncertain scenario we are in, right? Economy is uncertain, your market is uncertain, your health is uncertain, your everything, you're dealing with uncertainty, right? And you're paying a severe penalty if you are not prepared. So you are having a severe cost to that, right? Business is collapsing based on their unpreparedness. Then we are talking about, are you dealing with predictable customer, right? So the predictable customer, because business revolves around customer. We all are customer at one time. So how predictable the customer is, I'm defining that. Then we go about all 10 chapters of showing the path, what you should be doing. This is going to be very interesting, and I will keep revealing to you what I'm doing in terms of that second publication, right? So this is what data mining process is. Cross-industry standard process for data mining. Provides a process model for data mining. 6 major steps, very close to my attention. Always, because I deal with technology, you know that. I'm in the platform. I keep discussing with CTOs. And many times I'm bringing on board, my team is comprising of technology architects, developers. I just hired the position for my platform technology, big data, cloud, all that, right? And I keep probing them. Your focus is to articulate business to technology, technology to business. How can you read data? How can you prepare that? How can you bring model, evaluate, and then deploy? These 6 measures are key for your success. And more you become articulate, more and more you become very clear in terms of your understanding, you will succeed in whatever you are doing, right? Data is just mere data. But extracting the meaningful value out of data is what you'll be doing. Now, in Snap view, this is what I was talking about, right? Where it is applied, the classification, regression, anomaly, attributes, all these are algorithms which you would be working on, right? And slowly, we will be opening the discussion and we will be setting up the goals for you. Then real-time prediction modeling, right? And then we talk about churn. What is the likelihood of churn? Now, churn is a new word, right? Everybody is talking about churn. Give me an example of churn. Anybody?
Churn is basically customer attrition. So, for example, because I will give the telecom example because I had worked in telecom domain for years,
Sure.
and it is a very common thing there. So
Right.
I am familiar with this.
Yep.
So, for example, if we are having 6 to 7 operators in India, which are top players in market, so it's very common in India, especially in the prepaid segments. So, postpaid segment is very low in India. Because but prepaid segment, because now operators are even offering 10 rupees recharge, 20 rupees recharge, so there is a large chunk of people at the bottom of pyramid which actually buy these kind of sim cards, and they keep switching. So one time they may go for Airtel sim, then other time they may go for other operator sim, so it's very difficult to retain their customers. So for example, if I have some obviously when I am acquiring new customers, so I am putting some efforts, and there is some cost which is associated with it, which maybe I am paying to my sales professionals, to my distributors, retailers, in any terms. So, so when I actually go and see my whatever customer lifetime value or something else, so basically it's a big loss for any business, because I am acquiring a customer, I am spending 100 rupees. When I analyze, I see that I am spending 100 rupees in acquiring this customer, but he is actually giving me 10 rupees revenue. So it is a very common scenario there.
Yeah, and it is so true, and this is what I was, leading or aiming at, because this is a major problem of business. Because to acquire a customer, you do a lot of marketing investment, and at the end, what are you gaining out of it? Customer switches from one to another, and how do we stop or reduce that churn? Right, so important. So this modeling will help you in that, and this is a very good example which Oracle Intelligence System has built based on different patterns, model, and this some of the examples which is being shown here. So I'm not going to into details of that, right? Now coming back to having given you a little bit of preview, this is what I call preview of why we are here, why are we learning R, what is the background of that, what is the business scenario which requires to use that, and why you should be worrying about R, because your domain is more towards analytics and you will be more required in the marketplace today if you have got the skills, efficiency, and good understanding of the technology and the business value of it. Because you have to tie these two together. You bring the knowledge and relate with the business, you will be signing on that. This is what I'm going to train you in next 3 weeks. My goal is to make you successful wherever you go, right? Even in current organization, the more and more practice this, you will be leader right in next 6 months, I can tell you. If you're leader, you'll be growing hierarchy in the hierarchy, and you'll be very successful in that. These are some R software, right? And I will tell you also installation. So now you have to install. People who have not installed, please note down the URL, r-project.org, right? You have to download. It's a free version, window-based, easy, simple click, and you should be able to install. Not a problem, right? So once you install, you should be able to get going on this. Then I would suggest this is the meter domain. If you download, you get good support, and this is a better URL to download from, right? And then R for Windows, click on that. This slide will be available right then and there when I post it, and it's nighttime for you. So when you get up in the morning, you install, start working on the script which I will be given, and you subscribe to this. Install R for the first time. I'm sure that Bhavani you have done, and Deepika you have, so you have got all this working. I am comfortable with R Studio. Both are the same, but R Studio gives me better look and feel, so I work on R Studio, right? And this is what I work on. R packages, there are many computer packages in the many libraries which you start working on, right? And then we will first show it to you before I go on to our data management. So let me open R, and you see the version and others. So let's see if I'm here. This is my R Studio. right? And you see here all packages. Deepika, you have installed the same, right?
Yeah, right.
And then look and feel the same. So you have all, this is so you can create a new project, you can work on that. And normally I play around a lot with this, right? So I create, so let's say if I am to introduction right now. So first of all, how do I bring my working directory? So this is my R, this is my directory, set the working directory, set working directory. So I have created my working directory like this, set working directory and my documents. So I have mapped my documents are data. So all my data I store there on my desktop or on my laptop in my this directory. And in R, I set the working directory. So whenever I'm accessing my data is referenced to my this directory. Then I assign read the data, my data. So I have intro auto.csv. This file which I was talking about, right? I have already brought in my CSV file, kept it to this folder and attach my data. So whenever I say my data, it will reference to intro underscore auto.csv. Make sense? Okay. Then I will go on to names my data, show my line of data. So let's see if I'm running this. Show my data, and if I'm running this, so this will show my data from 1 to 10 rows, right? This is what it is showing me. And where is my data? My data is nothing but reading from my intro, this file, correct? So this is very simple to start working with this. Basics of your R, defining your directory, defining your data, and create all this within your R environment, what we call R environment. Then we define the list of variables, and then we start playing with this, and I will go on and on. So how many people have got, Bhavani, you're okay with this, right? Sanjay, you're okay with that as well?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, good. Now, if we start going into some statistics, this is where I will talk about data input so that you all know basics. Before anything else, let's talk about basics, right? So how do we do the data plus? This is just like a calculator, right? So you do this symbol and then do this. This is what it will be, square root you'll be using on this. Maximum, minimum, this is simple. Then we talk about outlining this, right? What is data types? How do you import data? Do you do keyboard import or database import, export? All this you will be working now within the framework of our workshop, right? And I'm giving a sense of first, if you have data sets, you have to show it to me. If you don't ask me, I will give you the data sets. Deepika, Bhavani, are you comfortable? Or you
it would be better if you provide your own, because we are working on your data. I think that this would give us better understanding.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm sending you some sample data sets, okay? So let's see if I'm...
Because it's better initially we can at least validate our results which we will be getting, and but we are how we are interpreting the results, then we can start doing on some of our own data and see what we can get from that.
Sure, not a problem. So I will send you that and we can start working on the same data set. It's always easy. What I have, you have, everybody is trying that, and we play with it and we work and we get idea across. The idea is that once you understand the whole syntax or framework, your idea gets across with the sample data. So intro underscore CS file, I will send it across to you and you will see it in your inbox. Okay. Did we define scalars, vectors, and all the data frames? This supports all data types: scalars, vectors, numerical, character logic. These are basic statistics, right? Now we are getting to that. So what is a scalar? A scalar is a real number. example, speed, mass, volume, all this, right? And vector quantity with magnitude and a direction, so velocity acceleration. So vector and order collection of data of the same type will represent based on this. Now 2, 4, 6. Now automatically it becomes ordered collection of data as it is going incremental with the variable 2, right? So this is what the simple definition, and it becomes very easy to represent your data based on this part. Now here I'm bringing that word true, 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 false. So this is logical vector. So when I'm defining A with my different numeric vector, and also I'm adding character vector and assigning my true false logic, so logical vector, and R supports all of them. Okay. Now, matrix is a rectangular table of data of the same type, right? So now we are talking about defining a rectangular array of numbers arranged in rows and columns. It's a two-dimensional, right? This is what matrix. So two-dimensional number of rows and columns that matrix has is also called dimension or its order. Now, how do I represent that? So I can represent, let's see, this is my sequence, and this is what my matrix syntax would be, and I can represent the data like this. So if I write this algorithm here, code, automatically it gives me the representation of. So let's say if I copy and take it to R example, just to show it to you, just to make the point, and I do this, and let's say I'm running this, right? And if I run, it should give me the matrix. And sorry, here, matrix 1, 2, 3 by row. Data length 4 is not a submultiple. So matrix by row and T. So what it's showing here, let me see. Okay, so we have to define this first, right? This is what we have to define, and then we have to work on it. So if I'm putting it here and then defining, it should be able to generate this. So this is what I was showing to you, that this becomes easy to represent and data into a different matrix or arrays, right? So now we know how we can represent the data with simple line of our commands. Now arrays are similar to matrices but can have more than 2 dimensions. This is the matrix and arrays difference. You have more than 2, right? So array here, 3, 4 dimensional matrix, my array. So now I can define my array command operation, and I can define the dimensions, right? And data would be presented based on that. This is a simple operation which you can run, and you could be able to represent your data. So this is all based on logical array, right? So vector and defining whether true or false, it will give you the value true. So if you are defining that, say you already have a vector with numbers 1 through 24 like this, so then my vector you can easily convert and you can run the check of the value. So automatically say, okay, it's checked, it is true. So your array is valid. Data frames is more general than a matrix, and that it gives you again the value based on character, numeric, and all. So you can define character like red, white, red, and you can also have true, true, false. Automatically it will validate against that, right? So go on data frames definition, and this is what the data frame will look like, right? So I was talking about my data, and data frame is used for storing data tables. It's a list of vectors of equal length. So now you saw that, right? So my data I have mapped. This is what the data sets. It is creating the data frame. Make, price, MPG repairs. This is my data frame. And this is all my variables. Now we can play around with that, creating all examples and lab based on this, all what I have defined so far. The top line of the table called header, we all know that, right? So there is no issues in that. And each horizontal line afterward denotes a data row. These are all our data row, which we will be using most of the time. Each data member of the row is called shell. This is what we call cell, right? And now we are talking about lists. An ordered collection of objects which allows you to gather a variety of objects under one name. Example, you can define the list with Fred, with all this age group, and you can print all these variables based on lists. Right? So elements of the list using this convention. My list, number, second component of the list, so it will generate based on this convention. And if you put your list and, like as I mentioned, arbitrary data types like name, age, and status, automatically if you put this, it will print, and if you put this, it will print age, because you're declaring already the age is 28, so print the age. What is the DOE age? DOE is your, and the variable is name, age, and all that, right? So you declare DOE, and now you're asking what is DOE name, right? So it will pick up from this prepared list, it will put up the name here, right? So this is very, very easy representation within R. Correct? Right. Okay. Now factors. The factor stores the nominal values as a vector of integers in the range. Now we are defining the range, where k is the number of unique values in the nominal variable, and internal vector of character string that map to these integers, right? So now you have variable gender with 20 male entries, 30 male entries, all that you're defining here as a range, and then you are treats gender as a nominal variable. R treats gender as a nominal variable, and this is what the factors would be. Now, these are the useful functions within R, right? Length object, number of elements, string object, class object, name. So this is object definition. You are all familiar with object definitions, right? Because now we are defining all objects within R, and this is what it will be mapped within R. So ls command, which will be listing all current objects within R, remove object, create, delete object, rm. This is common to also Hadoop. Remove directory, make directory, command operation, string object, NoSQL also will be defined based on string. So these are the definitions which we'll be working on. Now, importing data, how do you get data into R? So first, read table, reads in data from an external file. Data entry, create objects first, then data enter. So here, if I go back to your RStudio again, and I have shown to you how you can import data also, right? So now I'm here already, right? Source, then import, console, what is that? Import data set. Can you see here? If I'm in an environment, I can import data set from a text file, right? And also I can from the web URL. Example I have given to you that you have several data sets available. Now, 1 second, let me close this, and I'm into catalog.data.gov datasets. Please note this URL. You would be playing this most of the time because there are free datasets available for your project work. And you have been asking me, give me datasets where I can work with R, do my labs, do my projects. This is the data set you can work on. Right? So many data sets available. What file format? CSV format, JSON, XML, APIs, all that, HTML. So you can map this and then you can identify where I wanted to bring these data sets. So CSV files, this link will direct you to, and it's telling you all that. So once you map this, you can identify your directory and bring it from here. Now, if I wanted to bring the text file, I have my local data sets available on my R data, so I can bring it from here. My R data is available here, and I have intro underscore CSV. I can bring several data if I have mapped onto this. So now if I click on this, open, my data is already in R environment, which I have already brought in. I have also mapped by reading CSV file into my data. So now I don't have to always type in this. I'm always calling it my data because I have mapped and creating my working directory and read.csv file as this. So this is my data. Correct? So my data is mapped like this CSV file intro underscore auto CSV. So whenever I do variable my data, it will always look for this file which is there already in our environment. You can also bring in so many data that I have, like test player, which I do sometimes on other things, algorithm for that, right? I have my data which has mapped on it. It has the 26 objects of 7 variables. Correct? And then you can look at this. There are arrays, count. All those are which will be showing to you as we go along. So these are things which I will give you some assignments to play and work with it. And once you work on this, it becomes easy for you to relate. And then tomorrow morning, you give me update and feedback. Are you able to successfully import data, map data, work up to all that level which I defined? Right? So it is already 10:30 for you. I'm now giving you data entry and editing. Start editor and save changes. So this is what I am in. Whatever I'm doing in my canvas, this is my notepad pre-editor. This is my console where I execute the command. So this is free flow notepad editor given to you within half of the window, and these are your libraries. So some of the libraries which you invoke to work on, very, very important. So you see here datasets package, effect displays for linear, generalized linear. So even I have to use this, I have to click on these datasets. So libraries of all these available. So I have clicked on graphics, all that, right? This is also important because when I'll be using this, otherwise it will not give me a variable on that. So Harold miscellaneous. So it suggests if you're trying to go on to some operation within R, you have to check all this. And it says required package lattice. HM's library requires this, loading required package grid, all this is required. So you can start invoking to run your command operations. So far so good. This is working session, so when you come back tomorrow, and Sanjay, I'm sure you are in the same time zone, so you work on some of the statistical analysis which Bhavani and Deepika would be working. And Sanjay, I know Sanjay for some time. Sanjay is also working and learning on R, but statistic-wise he is pretty strong. So when he comes back into next class, he will be also, explaining with his knowledge and experience and some of the work which he has done. So we'll be, sharing his thoughts and views as well. Sanjay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So let's say when we go into variance, covariance, deviation, standard deviation, then I will talk about regression, then I'll be talking about all that, right? So Deepika, those are the things, statistical analysis, which will be working together. And Sanjay will be added in the WhatsApp number, so that any question during the daytime, because I will not be available during the daytime of yours, right? So he will, his idea is that how collaboratively you work to get your ideas across or problems solved. Now, case studies, assignments, lab is all I'm going to give it to you. But at the end of the day, you have to work on, get your mind around, get your concept cleared with some reference documentation. And we are all here to help you all succeed in making progress. It's a multi-way street. It's not one-way street, right? So Bangalore, Delhi, and Pune, and California, all coming together with one common goal. We all have to succeed. We all here to make our career successful, and we have to succeed in our goal, right? So now you have got the sense of where we're going with this. So from Excel, you know that ODBC package available, so you can Excel, from SAS, many people, now Sanjay is also working on SAS, right? So you'll be working on SAS tool set and get some kind of idea on SAS installation, so that people who are working, they can also get some idea of SAS. My goal is that I wanted to give as much as you all need, right? So we should be able to provide you that. Then keyboard input, SPSS, Excel data. So usually you will obtain a data frame by importing it from these data sets or an ASCII file, or you can get CSV, whatever format, you can bring it to R and start working on. Then once you do the analysis, you can export it to the framework where you want to go and present the data, right? Because the data analysis or graphs which you're generating is in R environment. Now you want to take it and present it to the more manageable format. For Excel, you'll need this format, XLS read-write package. Once you have this, you can write it on Excel, right? So these are certain things which you can do to a comma or delimited text file. So my data, you have this command and you can write table to an Excel spreadsheet. All this is given to you. Then we are talking about viewing data. There are a number of functions for viewing the data and variable levels. This is what I was using just now. So I clicked on that. You can take advantage of some labeling features. My data, my variable. So this describes my data. So HMISC package enables me to label it and use it as and when I need it. Right? And that goes on, values of missing data. So this is a basic primer of what I have covered today, right? You can see these are data values, system date, all that you can generate. And this is where the resources are. So all that libraries or packages plus your help, all available within r-project.org. CRAN, you can get all the resources. And more you learn, more and more efficient you will become. And we will be facilitating you with some kind of project, some kind of data sets. Now, when you wake up in the morning, you'll find on the LMS, there will be assignment given to you. I will send you the data sets on that. You have to practice. It will be half an hour kind of assignments, right? So now you are playing with R, making progress. So tomorrow again, when I'm coming back at this time, we are one step ahead. And then we'll go through the working lab. So I'll work on my R, you work on your, and show me whether you have succeeded. So we'll work on something, we'll show something, and then we'll make progress. Make sense? Any questions, comment? Deepika, Sanjay, Bhavani, any question?
So we will have some exercises given by tomorrow morning.
Yes.
And that we have to go through, we have to complete those exercises. And we will be spending some time tomorrow in tomorrow's session about how the exercises we have completed, right?
Yes. And what did we cover? We covered very basics of the statistics, right? We covered covered very basics of R to get started. I'm just getting you started with R. I know some of you are advanced, some of you might not, but very quickly, the moment you start responding, we'll jump on to more detailed statistics. This is what we'll be going into. Our goal is to move rapidly, right? So during this weekend of Saturday, Sunday, I'm trying to get you to a very good grasp or understanding of that. And with a lot of data sets coming your way, you will be also trying to practice some of those which I was showing it to you. And that is in a form of assignment and the lab. What I have created labs for you. You work on the labs, get the answer, and show it to me when you come back, so that I will get a feel that you worked on it, you are now efficiently progressing it, so that I can go to the next level of doing that. Then we'll go on to graphs, then we'll go on to different approach and methodologies. And any input, Sanjay, you might have, you should also post it to LMS, right? Any reference on a statistic which would be useful to our our other colleagues.
Yeah, I'll definitely put some references.
Right. So, Bhavani, are you okay? Deepika, are you okay?
Yeah, look.
Fine with me.
Yeah. And please feel free, because you see, our journey is long term. I don't want to leave you just anywhere, right? So anytime you have any questions, any comments, feel free to comment. And you can see here that we are trying to bring in all resources possible, because my intent is very clear. I don't want to have yet another training institution. This is a scholarly group put together. We are all coming from various backgrounds. Each one of us are unique, and each one of us have got some hidden talent which has to come out. Like Deepika, you surprised me other day. I was literally surprised the way you presented, because you spoke in the morning and you sounded very, very shaky. And the way you presented, it has given me something to think. How can that person be presenting so well within just 1 hour of efforts? Now, if I give you 3 weeks, you can deliver such a powerful project on advanced analytics. I can tell you that.
I would be really happy if I can do that. That is my target in this 3 weeks. I'll try hard to do that.
Yeah, and you will be. So I'm there. Pramod is coming back. Sanjay, all of us are working, and we will work on that. And Bhavani, you have done a great. So I'm now trying to cover whatever gaps one has, right?
May I ask one question which I have also posted on the group last week, and like sir has also replied. But if somebody has experience, I have basically asked for the comparison between Tableau versus ClickView.
Yeah.
So Alex sir has given me a few links to go through and read about it. But actually in our organization where I am working, actually we are trying to create some income related dashboard using that. So somebody, because I have never used any of these tools, practically, if anybody of you in the class, or maybe Alex sir, if you can give me insight which one we should go for, so I'm not able to decide. Somebody